Hi there, welcome to our video series on credit repair and your credit score. Today I'm talking with Blair Warner of Upgrade My Credit. Blair is a credit counselor and he helps people clean up their credit, establish good credit, all the things that they need to do to be able to buy a house, which is what I help them do. My name's Karen Highland, and together with my husband Chris, we are real estate agents in Central Maryland. So today we're going to interview Blair and just talk a little bit about credit repair, what it is, what it involves, and hopefully it'll be educational for you. So Blair, how are you today? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
I'm doing fantastic. My name is Blair Warner, as you said, and I am the founder and senior credit consultant of Upgrade My Credit. I got into this after being in the mortgage business for 4 years, and when things changed in 2007, 2008, as starting to sound like a broken record a little bit now, because as we are approaching 2015, but it seems like yesterday to me that I was blowing and going in the mortgage business as a mortgage broker and also doing some real estate investing, flipping some houses and stuff, and then overnight things changed. And I decided I wanted to stay in this arena, this business, because I enjoyed helping people get into houses, especially first-time home buyers. And so the credit repair was the next best thing at that time to being a mortgage person or a realtor. Don't ask me why I didn't just go become a realtor, but well, actually you can. It's the same thing. At that time in 2007, 6, 2008, it was such a roller coaster that even that was just as volatile as being a mortgage person. So both of those looked a little bit too volatile, and I went into helping people with credit because I'd already been doing that for our clients as a mortgage person, and had enjoyed the experience of taking people who thought they could never buy a house, and 6 to 12 months later they're buying a house, and so that was almost the same as being a realtor. I mean, someone comes to you and they go, oh, do you think we could ever buy a house? Do we make enough money? And maybe you just met them at the grocery store or met them at church or something, and they start talking to you, and you're the person that puts that hope in their mind that, yeah, maybe you can't buy tomorrow, but we can put you on the road to home ownership and we'll get you in the house eventually. And that's kind of the way I feel with credit repair, and that's how I started Upgrade My Credit, and we've been doing this now for 7 years.
Awesome. That it's really true. There's something really satisfying about just helping people get into a home, because there's so much more than just the bricks and sticks. There's the lifestyle, the school district, the park, park in the neighborhood. I mean, just so many things that go into home ownership. I agree with you. It's a delightful thing to help people that way. So,
well, and if you don't mind me saying, if there's anybody watching this that's still renting right now and you're contemplating, the benefits of home ownership over renting, maybe that could be a whole other video, but there's definitely more than economic benefits to owning your own home. They just say that people take more pride in it, in their home. The kids have more stable life. There's so many more than just economic benefits to owning your own home.
Right, and I think that's why even after the mortgage debacle that we've gone through and the housing fallout, it's still high on the list of people's idea of the American dreams.
It's still alive. The American dream's still alive.
Yep, it is. So tell me a little bit about what you were doing before you got into the whole real estate industry. I know you've had a long career in other things.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys that fits the typical what is it, the axiom or whatever that people say, that you're going to have like 3 careers. Most people have like 3 careers in their life, and I'm one of those that have had 3 or 4 careers in my life. I got a degree in microbiology and was pre-med and was going to go to medical school, and decided not to. Won't go into all the reasons why, but I still think that was the right decision. But then later, I ended up overseas teaching English as a second language, and learning how to speak Mandarin Chinese over in Taiwan. Met my wife over there. She's Taiwanese. And when we came back, we kind of came back and went back, several different times in the 90s. When I came back, I taught at the junior college level, and I just found out why I wasn't supposed to be a doctor, and that's because I love teaching people and I love connecting with them more than just 10 minutes in a doctor's office room and going on to the next patient or something like that, And I really do enjoy that whole part of it. So I kind of just discovered some things about that. So teaching and education, helping people in that area is really kind of the background that I come from. I had a sad twist in my life, as you know. Karen already knows this, but my wife got diagnosed with stomach cancer and passed away in 2003, and I was left with 4 children. And so at that time, I started to take care of 4 children. And so at that time, I started thinking, what can I do to be home more, have a little more flexibility? You still work just as many hours, but at least it's more flexible. You can work at midnight if you want to. But as a teacher, I was up at 6:30 and on the highway, almost 40 minutes to the school over in Dallas, and then teach all day and driving back. And I had a 2, 4, 6, and 8-year-old at home, and so I had to find something. And what happened was I had a friend that was a real estate investor. He was buying houses and fixing them up and reselling them, or sometimes he was just a wholesale flipper, in the middle. And I said, hey, I could do that, And I said, tell me a little bit more about how you do that, And so he told me, and he mentored me for 3 or 4 months, and we flipped a house together, and I got the bug, And that was in 2004. Then I met a guy, and I became a mortgage partner with him in the mortgage business. And then I've already told you how I got into credit repair. So that's kind of the last 10 years, I guess, yeah. So.
Well, I imagine, my background is in education too. I was a teacher, and that's one of the things that I love about what I do, is that connecting with people, helping them by just giving them really valuable knowledge, something that's really going to help them in their life. And I can totally imagine that's a big part of what you do.
Well, people want to buy a house, and I didn't know all the ins and outs of buying a house when I bought my first house. Just buying a house, credit, getting a mortgage, all the way to the moment you sign your name on the documents is all new for the first-time home buyer. They've never done that before, and you don't learn that in school. And so being able to help them and guide them through that and educate them along the way is part of the main rewards. Yeah. So.
Right. Well, so tell us a little bit about how does it work? How does credit repair work, and what is it that you do basically?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot. Like I said, most people don't understand. All they know is pay your bills on time, and you should have good credit, right? And so when someone comes to me, it's usually because they're wanting to buy a house. And I guess 80% of my clients, it is because they want to buy a house. It's probably one of the biggest motivators, I guess, for people to want to improve their credit and even do something with their credit above and beyond the minimum, because there are certain requirements. You can still get a car with average or poor credit. You can just pay cash for everything and don't have to have a department store credit card and buy your gas with cash. You can do all that, but when you want to buy a house, you gotta have credit. There's no getting around. Well, there are a few people that pay cash, but we won't talk about those. Most first-time home buyers in their 20s and 30s and so forth are going to get a mortgage. And like we've talked about before, you got to have credit to get credit, so you've got to start building your credit. So when people come to me, they usually have already pulled their credit, either themselves or with a mortgage person, and they discovered that they don't qualify for a mortgage. Now, if it was just something small or something simple that the mortgage person can give them a little bit of advice, and then they can come back a month later and everything's ready, then usually they don't need someone like myself that's in the credit consulting business. But most of the time when people have credit problems, don't qualify, it's more than just one little small thing or something in the way. most of the time their credit is 30, 40, 50, even 100 points below what is required to get a mortgage, and they have some history on there that they sometimes even forgot about, and all of a sudden they pull their credit and they go, oh, what's this, or I don't remember doing that, or that's not mine. And that's where I come in to help them to, I guess, I don't like the word repair, but that's really the only word I can think of. Is you're going in and repairing some stuff, you're cleaning up, you're correcting errors, and also helping them build up any new credit that they may have, because you got to have enough good credit, not just ain't no bad credit, but you got to have some good credit on there to help have a good score.
Okay. So I'm kind of curious, what is the worst case you've ever dealt with? Because I'm imagining some people even might be watching this saying, oh, I'm hopeless. There's nobody can help me. So I thought maybe you have a worst case story to give people hope.
Well, I've probably helped over 1,000 clients in the last 7 years. So to think what my worst case story is, I'm not quite sure, but I would say that probably the worst case that I've seen is somebody came to me and a couple wanted to buy a house, and it's interesting because the husband had stellar credit. I mean, he was like 740 credit score, never paid a bill late on time, and his wife, and they'd only been married a couple years, so I'm assuming this all happened before they met, but his wife apparently just had not been taught the ins and outs of debt management and credit management. And when she was in college, and shortly thereafter when she got this great job, making more money she probably ever made before in her life, and so she kind of went crazy on the whole credit thing and had all these credit cards. I mean, more credit than I've seen anybody have, as far as like the number of different trade lines. And then she got sick. She was diagnosed with endometriosis. Is that right? Yeah, endometriosis. Yeah, she was diagnosed with endometriosis. And suddenly, not only did she have all these hospital bills that were added on there, but she her company was not very workable with her, and about missing a lot and everything, and she lost her job. So if you've got 15 different open trade lines that now you have a hard time paying, and you've got medical bills, so suddenly by move forward into the future, and now she got married, now she's been married to this guy 2 or 3 years, and she's wanting to do something about it. She literally had probably 30, including hospital bills, medical bills, she probably had 30 different trade lines that I had to work on, and she had not had any current credit for like 3 years. And it took me a good year, to work through it all, and we eventually got her credit score up to the minimum 640 for FHA loan, maybe even 14 months if I can remember right, and it was hard work to get her up there, but we had to get her some new credit. So and that takes time. You can't just go out and get a couple new credit cards and then a month later FICO is going to reward you for having 2 credit cards. You've got to show a pattern of paying them on time, and so that's another reason why it took like 12 months and 14 months for her to build up that new credit. And then I had to deal with all these derogatories and negative stuff. One of them was even a repo on the auto. And you asked for the worst case. I mean, this is probably the worst case. You're right. She had her car repoed while she was going through that illness, and they tried to report the full amount rather than the deficiency amount, because the way repo is supposed to work is that when they repo your car, whatever you owed at the time, not your original loan, but whatever you owed at the time minus whatever they sold it at the auction for, that difference is all they're supposed to put on the credit report. Well, they tried to get the whole amount, and so that took a lot of work. So it was, but it's worth it. It's worth it though. I mean, if they hadn't done anything, if they'd just thrown up their hands and said, well, we can't buy a house, I guess, or we got to wait 7 years, until all this falls off and stuff, then nothing would have changed. It's not going to change by itself, that's for sure.
Right. So even waiting, that's kind of a false assumption, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
You really need to be proactive.
Yeah, and that's not going to get better by waiting. I mean, eventually it will. Like I said, if you wait 5, 6, 7, 10 years, yeah, eventually. But who wants to wait 7? If you find yourself at 28 and you're starting to have kids and you want to buy a house, who wants to wait 7 years to buy a house when you make the income to afford a house? but your credit and debt problems, are keeping you
Yeah.
from it. Why wait 7 years?
Yeah. Good point. So besides the fact that you've helped 1,000 people over 7 years, that's amazing. In case someone's wondering, what other expertise do you have that qualifies you to do what you do?
Well, yeah, you're right. 7 years experience and then 4 years as a mortgage person. Excuse me. I would say that after my partner and I closed down our mortgage brokerage and I went into the whole credit repair thing. Even though I had some experience and I knew a lot about it, I did start taking some certifications and went to some conferences. There's a group in Florida that puts on these conferences where over, I think, 100 credit repair companies come for 4 days and learn about the newest updates of credit repair and what's going on in the lobbying and the whole financial industry and just all different things. And I got certified with the National Association of Credit Services Organization, which requires you to take a test to understand the Fair Credit Reporting Act clearer and to prove that you understand the Credit Repair Organizations Act. So you actually take a test over that, but then you can't even take the test unless you've been in business for 3 years. So it's
Yeah.
pretty good indication that you at least know what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. I'm still just aghast at 1,000 people. That just kind of, that must feel really good.
Yeah. Now, in all fairness, not all 1,000 of those people probably ended up in the house because everybody has their part to play. And after I've done my part, I mean, you probably even run in it too. You've done your part, but then the consumer, something happens in the client's life or something where it doesn't go all the way to actually ended up in a house. But a big part of those have. I wouldn't be surprised if half of them are in houses now that wouldn't have been able to get in houses before. So.
Well, and certainly just the education that you're giving them, is a big help. Big help. Just had them. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who, just haven't had basic financial education. I don't even know if they teach anything in schools anymore. So, that's probably a really valuable part of what you do is teaching.
Yeah, I find that nobody knows really anything about the whole credit industry and debt industry and collections and debt collection. What are the laws and what are they governed by and how and collecting debt and reporting and I don't I didn't know it until I got into the business. So.
Yeah, yeah. So I know we talked before about different types of credit repair, and I know there's what we in the we are techie people might call black hat credit repair, and then the kind of thing that doesn't really last. It might fix you up and make you look good for a short period, but then it really doesn't do any lasting help to you. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's black hat. Just about any industry, I guess, in a way, has black hat and white hat stuff. And for our audience, black hat, of course, black tells you a lot right there, the color black, but it means kind of either underhanded or gray or just not 100%. If it's legal, it may not be ethical. I mean, it's just a little bit. And then of course, white hat is doing everything according to the book and according to the laws and even ethically and morally. And the difference is this: if in credit repair, there is a way. And I mean, if somebody came to me and said, "Blair, use black hat methods to get my score up," I know what those black hat methods are. I mean, and every good credit repair person, even those of us who do all white hat methods in our day-to-day, consulting, we have to know what those black hat methods are to be able to identify them and not do them and that kind of stuff. And so I know what the black hat methods are. And if someone said, "Blair, come in and use the black hat method to get my score up," I could get someone's score up probably 50 points in 30 to 60 days. Okay, that's a lot. And someone says, "Oh, do that for me." But the problem is, it is black hat, and and I don't even really want to share what it is. You know, it's
That's
not
fine. Yeah.
illegal, not illegal, but I think it's unethical is what it is. And part of the unethical part of it is that you're fooling the lender. Okay, so it is legal, even though it's black hat. You couldn't go to jail for it or something like that. But it's unethical because what you're doing is you're giving a false impression to the lender and the underwriter that you have certain credit and I don't know, risk or lack of risk, that you have certain credit level when you really don't, because it's just temporary, because next month it's gonna go back down. And so the black hat method is not advisable to do that. And not only is it unethical, you're running the chance that if they pull your credit again right before closing, that the black hat method that you thought may last 60 days, well, it only lasted 40 days, or it only lasted 28. You thought, and it had already gone up and then back down in between looking for a house and closing. And so you've wasted their time, they've wasted realtors' time, and they're going to have to put off buying a house and go back to white hat methods before probably they're going to be able to do it.
As you were talking, that's what I was thinking. There's no guarantee in today's market that you contracted on a house, you have 30 or 45 days to settlement. There's very little guarantee that that's all going to happen within 45 days. I mean, we're having delays all the time. It's not uncommon.
Yeah.
It's very common. So yeah, you're taking a risk, is what I'm.
Because what you're doing is you're gaming the system. You're taking advantage of some loopholes, and you're gaming the system. And anytime you game the system, there's always a winner and a loser. In games and sports, there's always a winner or a loser, and you just don't want to take that chance. And if someone wanted me to do that, I actually refuse them. I say no, I don't do that. White hat method, here's the difference, is that we use the laws, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which governs collection agencies. We use each state's reporting laws that they may have for that state, the repo laws, HIPAA laws for medical. We use the various laws to make sure that everything is being reported accurately on someone's credit report. We make sure it's being reported in the correct time frame that the law says it can be reported. We make sure also that everything that is being reported can be verified. So, for example, the way the system works, and I'll give you just a quick little thing, and it might be a good way to end it here, but creditors just report information to the credit bureaus. And the credit bureaus do not, at the moment of receiving that information from the individual creditors, they don't verify it. They don't say, are you sure this is correct? Or, they just take it, compile it into this nice little report, and then they sell the report, and that's how they make money. They sell the report to you as a consumer. They sell it to other lenders who might be pulling, credit on you. They're in the data collection and compiling business, and then selling that, and that's how the credit bureaus make their money. It's up to the consumer to make sure everything's being reported correctly, which they didn't have that right, 20 or 30 years ago. It's only been in the last 15 or 20 years that the Fair Credit Reporting Act gave them the right to get a free credit report every year, to see what's on there, and then if they see something that's in error, they can contest it. And if it's not accurate, if it's not verifiable, and if it's not in the right time frame, then it's not supposed to be reported. And it's up to the credit bureaus then, when you investigate it, a certain item, they have to go back to the creditor, and then the creditor it's got to come back and say, yeah, that's correct. Oh, sorry, you're right. It's not really $300. They only owe $200, and they're supposed to correct it. But then I go back in and say, well, how did they verify that? I mean, they could just say, it's correct. Do they have some documents? How was this account initiated? It's kind of getting detailed, but that's the white hat method, is that you're just making sure that all the different entities, the creditor, the credit bureaus, the consumer, everybody's following the regulations and the laws. And if after I've done all that, then we know at least what we have is 100% correct credit report. Then we can come back in and maybe negotiate with some of the creditors a payment plan or a settlement, and we can ask them and say, if they if my client pays this off, will you please delete it off the credit report? You know, and so it'll help them have a better credit score. I mean, it's all kinds of stuff, and it's about a 3 to 6 month process, and that is white hat, you know, credit repair. I mean, I basically have told you credit repair in a box just right
Yeah.
then.
Well, it's really interesting. It's interesting to know the history as well. So I think
Yeah. And I know it was a little technical just then, but I think it's good for the viewers to know that that there's actually a step-by-step system and process that we do and we use um, when we start working on somebody's credit report.
sure.
So
Well,
for example, the worst case scenario that I told you before about had like 30 different items, her repo ended up just getting completely deleted and not reported because when we forced the original creditor, the people who repoed it, to have to prove that she really owed that amount, they chose to ignore answering. And so the credit bureaus by law can't report it if they wouldn't. So that whole repo just came off, and her score went up 20 points probably just from that one repo. You know,
they might,
15.
yeah, they might not have even had any of that paperwork anymore.
They may not have. It may
Yeah.
have all just been just trying to get some money out of them. So
Yeah.
that's
I think
credit repair.
I think that's fantastic information, and I'm glad to know, at least to be able to tell any buyers, any people that are watching, that there is such a thing as, non-ethical. I think that's
Hmm.
important to know. So I'm glad you explained that.
Sorry, I know sometimes it gets technical, but
No, no, that's fine. So, Sheriff Blair Warner, or I can call you Inspector Blair Warner. It's been a
there you
real
go, Inspector
pleasure.
Blair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a real pleasure talking with you and finding out a little bit about, just what you do and how you came about it. And for any of you watching, if you do need that extra special help, obviously Blair's your guy. So Blair, how can they contact you?
Um, the best way probably is, I mean, I still like the old-fashioned just phone call. Just give me a call and 817-886-0302, and my extension is extension 3, or my website. You can go there and look things up, upgrademycredit.com. So.
All right then, and I'll have that information down below the video, and if you're watching this on the blog post, it'll be there too.
All
So
right.
thanks for talking with us.
It's been my pleasure.
All right, talk to you again.
Bye-bye.